I think, equality is about humanity. It's about the commitment to make sure that people don't or are not treated differently or discriminated against because of their identities or characteristics, be it ethnicity, gender, religion, or any other. I think diversity is about recognition, in the sense that it is about recognizing, valuing, and taking account of different knowledges, expertises, experiences, skills and backgrounds of people more generally. And finally, inclusion is about seeing diversity among individuals and groups as a benefit, as something that enriches social, economic, cultural, and intellectual life every day, and rather than threaten this intellectual life. This involves, of course, a commitment to build an environment in which everybody can feel secure and safe to share their knowledges, their experiences, and skills without feeling the threat of being discriminated against, but rather feeling that their contribution is actually valued. I think this is important for at least two broad reasons. First, because it is the right thing to do, in the sense of that's how the world should work. And I think we at the PSA should try and prefigure, in a way, that world as we want it to work. We can perform that at all levels, and by doing that, try and get closer to that ideal of how the world should work. Second, and arguably less importantly, I think EDI also makes for richer intellectual engagement and intellectual exchange. I think it makes our conversations and intellectual, scholarly, and research projects and exchanges much more sophisticated and powerful in the real world. First, the misconception that in the name of non-discrimination, the only thing that we're doing is actually discriminating against other people. Even if we're saying that we're not discriminating, this misconception says that basically we are benefiting certain people for their identities or characteristics to the detriment of other groups of people and individuals. That is, of course, a misconception. It is not about reversing the inequalities, but about acknowledging their existence and dealing with those barriers and structural inequalities in a way that makes life fairer for everyone and everybody. A second quite common, at least in my experience, misunderstanding or misconception is that we are actually condemning some identities, some characteristics. For example, that we are condemning the fact that somebody feels Western European, that somebody sees themselves as white people, or that they are straight or heterosexual, or anything like that. It is really nothing like that. It is actually about recognizing that there's an intrinsic equality among human beings, and that we should not discriminate people for the identities or any other characteristic, and try and have a much more level playing field, if you want to use that kind of terminology, in life and in academia. So it is about addressing structural inequalities again, rather than reimposing other kinds of inequalities instead. And third, I think EDI sometimes gets misconstrued as a conception that we're actually forgetting about intellectual merit and the actual intellectual contribution that people do in academia, and that we are then benefiting them because of their characteristics, when again it is nothing like that. It is actually about acknowledging that the intellectual sophistication and contribution of people have been significant all along. It is just that some structures have prevented academia and intellectual exchange from not only acknowledging them, but also benefiting from them and benefiting probably more our communities. So it is about diversity, it is about intellectual exchange, and it is about merit as well. It is, again, let's go for merit rather than simply exclude some people that have historically been more excluded because of these structural inequalities and barriers.